Good day, people of God. How did your week go? I believe it went well. Welcome to Lesson 4. Priests continue to represent God. This is a continuation of Lesson 3. Priests represent God over His people. In Lesson 3, we looked at 4 priests who served within 2 periods in Israel. 1 after Aaron and 2 before Solomon's temple. In the current lesson, we will be looking at 4 more priests during 2 other periods in Israel's history. In Division 1, we will look at the first temple period, which is the same as the Solomon's temple. A second temple was built after the return from exile, as Solomon's temple had been destroyed. The other period, which we will be discussing in Division 2, is after the exile. In Division 1, we will examine the priests Jehoiada and Hilkiah, who served during the reign of 2 young kings, Joash and Josiah, respectively. Before these kings came to their thrones, the people had been led astray from God, but these priests were used to lead them back to God. We shall look first at Jehoiada. Jehoiada's story can be found in 1 Kings chapter 11. First, a background of the situation. Ahab the king in Israel and husband of Jezebel had an alliance with Jehoshaphat the king of Judah during their reigns. Ahab's daughter Athaliah got married to Jehoram, Jehoshaphat's son, and after Jehoram's death, his son Ahaziah reigned. But after Ahaziah died a year after assuming the throne was usurped by his mother Athaliah. She ordered the execution of all the heirs to the throne, but only one of them, Joash, survived. Now, Joash survived because he was hidden away for 6 years in Solomon's temple by Jehosheba, his aunt. Jehosheba was married to the high priest Jehoiada, so we can say that Jehoiada was quite instrumental to the prince's survival. It was Jehoiada who organized the soldiers and led the revolution that dethroned and executed Athaliah, while crowning the young Joash as king. He further led a renewal of the covenant between the king, the people, and God. The people then broke down Baal's house, destroyed his altars and images, and then killed his priests. God's worship was restored. Jehoiada had guided the people back to God. Now to Division 2, the restoration through Hilkiah. The biblical record of Hilkiah is found in 2 Kings chapter 22 and 23. Josiah was only 8 years old when he assumed the throne in Judah. He must have received some tutoring by the priest Hilkiah until he reached a matured age. The spiritual situation in Judah was deplorable when Josiah became king. He ascended the throne after 2 of the most evil kings of Judah had led the nation far away from God's will. The temple was filled with the images of pagan gods and vessels dedicated to them. There remained only a memory of God's word because the written law had been lost. But while giving administrative functions, Hilkiah went further to bring about revival in Israel, as he found the lost book, and then later went to ensure that the restoration of God's will occurred. Now, lessons to learn from the lives of these priests. Jehoiada and Hilkiah fulfilled the priestly function of guiding God's people to His will. We learn that God uses us to influence and bless others when we give ourselves to Him. Through Jehoiada, the soldiers were influenced and they were able to boot out Athaliah, the queen. We also learned that the 2 priests fought against evil and they succeeded. And in spite of the fact that they were much older than the young kings of their days, Joash and Josiah, they were loyal and submissive. And they also made themselves available when required. As believers, as God's priests, we should give ourselves to God, follow the Spirit's lead, and then stand up for the truth. And I believe that God can use us to lead people back to God's will. God bless you. We'll continue this next week. Have a great week ahead.